With so many people talking about releasing classified files, I think it's about time I share some exciting and crazy things about Jeffrey Epstein that the media will not or probably cannot tell you about. Now, while talking about Epstein, people often ask this very simple question.
So they don't really know where his money came from, which is a huge red flag in and of itself. And then there's well, what was he doing?
I mean, how did this guy go from working as a teacher to owning his own island?
Making $600 million, $800 million on Wall Street. No one's ever heard of you before. This is crazy, right?
Well, the short answer is that he received quite a lot of money from a few different people. For instance, billionaire Leon Black paid a whopping $158 million to Epstein for tax and estate planning.
Billionaire paid Jeffrey Epstein $158 million for tax and estate planning. You're smart.
The reason he paid Epstein, as you say, a convicted paedophile, $158 million was because he saved him about $1 to $2 billion in potential tax charges.
And I would use the word astute. Who the hell has ever spent $158 million on estate planning services?
Now, interestingly, the same billionaire later agreed to pay $62.5 million to avoid Jeffrey Epstein-related lawsuits in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Another man who likely added hundreds of millions of dollars to Epstein's net worth is Leslie Wexner. According to the Wall Street Journal, Wexner hired Epstein in 1991 to manage his money, giving him vast power over his investment and tax affairs. And Epstein reportedly made more than $200 million from the deal.
So let me ask you, just because we are talking about, you just mentioned Virginia Giuffre Roberts, but Les Wexner is obviously a big part of that as well. And that's probably one of the most recent cases that Alan Dershowitz was involved with. A lot of people don't know that. Do you explore that at all? Because that is extremely recent.
I am not as well versed on the Leslie Wexner element of the Epstein saga. I did include some quotes from Dershowitz about Wexner. I'm not sure how close he was. One of the things I learned from Dershowitz, which I put in the book, is that one of the main theories he's heard regarding how Epstein made his money is that Epstein and Wexner engaged in a homosexual relationship, and then Epstein extorted Wexner on that front. And that's one of the theories that Dershowitz has heard that he put in the book for me to quote.
Now, Mr. Wexner has a very interesting history, and it goes way beyond Epstein. In 1992, he personally hired Michael Jeffries to lead Abercrombie & Fitch and be the brand's architect. Wexner had purchased the brand name in 1988 for $47 million in cash and wanted to evolve the brand from a sporting goods store for America's elite to one that catered to teens and young adults. And we all know how Mike Jeffries used his position.
The arrest and charging of 3 defendants. Former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, Michael Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and James Jacobson, on charges of sex trafficking and engaging in interstate. But while Jeffries was the CEO of one of the most recognizable clothing retailers in the world, he was using his power, his wealth, and his influence to traffic men for his own sexual pleasure and that of his romantic partner, Matthew Smith. Jeffries and Smith employed James Jacobson to act as a recruiter to find men. Jacobson engaged in, quote, tryouts with men across the world where he would typically pay them to engage in sex acts with him. Following the tryouts with Jacobson, Smith would often then personally approve whether the men who were selected would meet Jeffries and Smith.
So it's safe to say Leslie Wexner had a lot to do with these two men getting so much power.
All right, so you guys have heard that the CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch was arrested on trafficking charges. That's this guy right here, Mike Jeffries. I'm about to tell you how that ties into Victoria's Secret, Epstein, Ashton Kutcher, all of it. So to start connecting these dots, we have to start at the very beginning, which is with this guy, Les Wexner. Now in 1988, Les Wexner, who owns Victoria's Secret, goes and buys Abercrombie & Fitch. And in 1992, Les installs this guy, Mike Jeffries, as the CEO of Abercrombie. Now, this is the guy who was just arrested for trafficking. And the reason that it's interesting that this guy, Les, bought Abercrombie & Fitch and appointed this guy to be ahead of it, who is now being charged with trafficking, is because he made Jeffrey Epstein power of attorney for him. And that is a weird thing, I think, because giving somebody power of attorney is like when one of your family member gets older and a son or a daughter will take over control of their wealth and their finances and start making decisions for them. So this is who this guy chose to be his power of attorney. The mansion that was bugged in every single room and had a lot of famous artwork in it, that famous mansion was transferred from this guy to him.
Now, the shocking fact is that Mike Jeffries might not even stand trial due to an alleged diagnosis of late-onset Alzheimer's disease and dementia. So basically, this man who allegedly used his position to abuse young people for years and years will likely face no consequences because we were too late to bring him to justice. And that's America for you folks. Now, we kind of have an idea of how he got that money. Let's see how he used it. Democratic Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett did come under some pressure in the House due to her connections with Epstein.
I believe the ranking member said she was deeply concerned about the affiliation, and we seem to have a guilty by association theme going on here. And so I just have to state for the record that I myself am deeply concerned about the affiliation of the convicted trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, of which the ranking member took campaign donation money from. So I think that's the beauty of the First Amendment, is that we have a right to say what we want to say, but we also have the right to be offended.
Trump not only have had the codes, but now having the classified information for Americans, he needs to be stopped. He needs to be stopped.
The funny thing is, without the support of the Virgin Island Democrats, Epstein would likely not have been able to do any of those heinous things he later did. According to this article, he had donated generously to Democratic politicians from the U.S. Virgin Islands for years. In exchange, recent court filings say he got $300 million in tax incentives and was able to fly girls to his islands without customs batting an eye. It's simply disgusting because everyone knew he was an offender who had been hurting kids for years. And Miss Stacey still accepted max donations from him multiple times over the years. But now she wants nothing to do with him. In fact, she has asked a judge to dismiss her from a lawsuit filed by Epstein's victims. Now, another thing I want to talk about is all of the deaths surrounding Epstein. We all know that Epstein's demise was anything but normal.
3 fractures in the windpipe. That are much more typical of crush injury from homicidal strangulation than from hanging.
I was appalled, and indeed the whole department was, and frankly, angry, to learn of the MCC's failure to adequately secure this prisoner. We are now learning of serious irregularities at this facility that are deeply concerning and demand a thorough investigation.
However, people related to him have a history of dying mysteriously. We all know about his partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Ghislaine Maxwell has been found guilty of recruiting and trafficking young girls to be sexually abused by her close friend, the dead American pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Sex trafficking is essentially providing human beings, in this case girls and young women, and forcing them into having.
What a lot of people don't know is that her father also had a very interesting past, and he also died in some very shady circumstances.
So, the mysterious death of Robert Maxwell. For those of you who don't know, and that will be very few, Robert Maxwell was a newspaper owner, an entrepreneur, and an all-round crook. He plundered the pension fund of his newspaper and deprived thousands of pensioners of their life savings. He was a con man, and that's why he got on so well with the intelligence services. Now, the key thing about him is how he died. In 1991, his business empire was collapsing, burdened by debt. His naked body was found that November floating in the Atlantic Ocean. It was said that he'd had a heart attack and fallen off of the side of his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine. But there was a story going around at the time, and I can only call it a very well-informed story, and he was given an offer to step off the yacht and end it all before inquiries went any further. It's a very similar deal to the one that was offered to Rommel on the grounds that his family would then not be further hassled. The story is that he couldn't pluck up the courage to step off and actually had to be helped over the side, as it were.
This is why a lot of people think that Epstein was an intelligence asset and he was just collecting dirt so his handlers could blackmail some of the most powerful people in the world. And this trend of mysterious deaths certainly did not end with Epstein. His partner also unalived himself, according to official reports.
Jean-Luc Brunel was a longtime associate for the late American financier Jeffrey Epstein. He was found early in the morning on February 19th in his Lassante jail cell, hung. Brunel's lawyers confirmed it was suicide. Brunel had been in prison for over a year for the rape of minors and trafficking of minors for sexual exploitation. The 76-year-old had denied all allegations against him. Jean-Luc Brunel co-founded the French modeling agency Carine Models in 1977. And MC2 Model Management in the United States with funding from Jeffrey Epstein. Brunel's lawyers spoke to CNN about his death and said that it was not guided by a matter of guilt, but a matter of injustice. According to the New York Post, the family of Ghislaine Maxwell fear for her safety at the Metropolitan Detention Center since the news of Brunel's suicide. Ian Maxwell, Ghislaine's brother, told the Post that his younger sister is not suicidal, and it is ironic that Brunel and Epstein, who died of suicides, were not on suicide watches in their prisons. While Brunel was not on suicide watch, a delegate from the Force Ouvrier Union for France's penitentiaries said that the prison's procedures are that a prison guard conduct 5 checks on prisoners every night. While there was no closed-circuit TV inside Brunel's cell, video inside the prison corridors showed that the guards did not miss any of the checks.
Listen, folks, the simple truth is that unless we are ready to go to war with many of these deep state actors, the Epstein files won't ever really come out. We already see how Democrats have clear interests in keeping those files locked up forever. So, despite what you might think, this current administration is probably the last chance we have at getting the names of Epstein's clients and his handlers. So let's keep pushing this government until that list is finally released to the world. And while we are talking about deep state agencies, let's talk about those freaking balloons which were seen all over the US until our government finally decided to take them down.
So new details are now emerging on the Chinese spy balloon from 2 years ago. Yes, literally 2 fucking years ago. But there's something that nobody's mentioning, right? Now the 200-foot tall balloon, by the way, if you didn't know, this coming from 2 sources with direct knowledge of a classified US military report that told Newsweek that the balloon was not only loaded with a satellite communication module and sensors, but also other technology from at least 5 American firms. That included, according to these sources, tech to survey, take photographs, and collect other intelligence data. And even launchable gliders that apparently could have flown on other recon missions. But here's where things get interesting, right? The technology matched a patent that was awarded in 2022 to scientists at the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Aerospace Information Innovation Research Institute in Beijing. Yes, that's a fucking mouthful. Which has links to China's military. But included in that patent was a short burst messaging module called Iridium 9602. Now here's where things get interesting and what they don't seem to be talking about. Module maker Iridium is a global satellite communications provider, okay? Whose command post is in McLean, Virginia, okay? Mere miles from CIA headquarters. Patiently waiting for Doge to dig into that 3-letter agency. But the balloon also had a communication system by Iridium, along with tech from 4 other US companies. Those being Texas Instruments, Omega Engineering, Amphenol All Sensors Corporation, and onsemi. The report even noted that there was other equipment from at least 1 Swiss company. And it was reported that this thing weighed thousands of pounds, people. That's insane, and I really want to know what was being done on that fucking balloon.
At this point, all you gotta do is point to a conspiracy theory, and after a few hours of research, you'll probably find some facts backing that theory. I mean, this whole chemtrail situation is still not under control, and people are now asking President Trump to do something about it before it's too late.
How about putting an end to stratospheric aerosol injections? In other words, this garbage that they're dumping from the sky right now. This blue over here, which they haven't yet gotten to yet, which they're working on, as you can see, to what you see over here by the sun, all within an hour. And I need a planet, and we're not going to have much of one if they keep dumping this aluminum, barium, strontium, and all the other garbage that they're dropping from the sky.
And while we're on the subject of farming and agriculture, this is how RFK Jr. is planning on saving family farms while making our food healthier.
Hi, this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm here outside of the United States Department of Agriculture to tell you about a win-win policy that I'll be pushing in the Trump administration. It's a win for farmers, for consumers, and for the environment. And the purpose is to make America healthy again. America's current ag policy is destroying America's health on every level. It's destroying the economic health of farmers by forcing them to get big or get out. Big corporate farms do just fine, while the small and medium family operators are squeezed to the point of collapse. It also destroys the health of America's soil and water by tilting the playing field in favor of more chemicals, more herbicides, more insecticides, more concentrated monocrops. We're going to give farmers an off-ramp from the current system that destroys their health, wrecks the soil, makes Americans sick, and destroys family farms. We're going to rewrite the regulations to give the smaller operators a break. We're going to encourage sustainable regenerative farming that can build soil and replenish aquifers. We're going to ban the worst agricultural chemicals that are already prohibited in other countries. And we're going to remove conflicts of interest from the USDA dietary panels and commissions.
I mean, you can't help but admire the guy for his passion to bring real change and solve one of the biggest problems that plague this nation. It's now clear that the United States is undergoing a unique recalibration of its entire way of thinking, and one key point of the Trump administration is geared towards health, and the way the administration looks at it is from the standpoint of the healthcare system. Because of that, I wanted to search for new, innovative, and exciting ideas to present to you with this in mind. Here are a few super interesting facts that I came across, and this will make more sense as I go along, I believe. I found a publicly traded company named Promino Nutritional Sciences that trades with the ticker symbol MUSLF, just as shown on the screen. It's the sponsor of today's video, and I want to show you something that I personally was positively shocked by. The R&D and development expenditures that went into formulating and launching their product line on a commercial scale required 17 years of University of Arkansas clinical research. 17 years to come up with a proprietary formulation. If that's not enough, the budget for that research was $20 million. As I record this, the company's products, which are now available in the US and in Canada, are generating revenues with select distributors and international eco-sites, providing global access. Yet the entire market cap of Promino Nutritional, ticker MUSLF, is less than $10 million. It's precisely $7 million. It took $20 million to just develop the formulation and the company, with its products already on shelves valued for only $7 million. Promino Nutritional's founder licensed the formulation rights for the patented molecular structure of this protein-based science. Promino is not a whey protein, but an advanced essential amino acid formula. This is patent protected and is the only peer-reviewed clinically studied protein in the world. Have you ever heard of a company trading for 1/3 of the cost of the R&D that went into the product? These represent the types of retailers the company might be entering in discussions with or available to via distributors. Bottom line, Promino has access to over 100,000 retail doors in North America. Originally funded by NASA, 25 plus human clinical studies, and has US and worldwide patents. Numbers and actions speak louder than words. Promino Nutritional Sciences has a retail footprint that is the envy of most CPG, consumer packaged goods businesses, in my opinion. Check this out. about. This is truly what made me take notice. It's clinically proven patented formula, 2 times more effective than whey protein, sugar-free, low calories. Here's what Nielsen IQ, one of the premier consultancy firms in the globe, and tastemakers concluded about Promino's patented protein products. Tastemakers Research Group is a specialist in consumer flavor acceptance. With 510 active consumers tested and over 4,000 active lifestyle consumers tested, Rejuvenate met or exceeded customer expectations. Raspberry had above average consumer acceptance for the 40-plus demographic, slightly higher than citrus. Citrus was ranked as excellent, 78% jar score. Consumers loved the idea of a dairy-free protein drink. They found it refreshing and easy to drink. Nielsen IQ is a leader in CPG consumer testing. Rejuvenate outperforms 67% of Nielsen's database. Above average purchase intent among beverage consumers. Active nutrition, 74%. Adult nutrition, 69%. High purchase frequency, 30 times per year or more than 2 times per month. Excellent volumetric results demonstrating strong U.S. revenue from the point of launch. Second year saw an increase of 30 to 35% to $25 million. Those are U.S. sales only. These are some of the most promising notes I've seen in my life. Obviously, these incredible characteristics have drawn world-famous athletes to this brand already. But even with that, the market cap is still $7 million today compared with the original $20 million that was spent on research and development. Look at these incredible brand ambassadors. Jack Eichel, Jose Bautista, and Kirk McLean. Rejuvenate Muscle Activators Element Nutritional Sciences flagship product score of 321 compares to a score of 133 for whey protein, 141% higher, 91 for soy protein, 252% higher, and 82 for pea protein, 291% higher. The DIAAS score accounts for the digestibility of amino acids absorbed by the body and the protein's contribution to human amino acid requirements. Rejuvenate Muscle Activator is composed of plant-based materials that are considered to be more digestible as it relates to calculating the DIAAS score. Let that sink in. Quality-wise, Promino Nutritional Sciences, ticker MUSLF, has superior protein delivery, making it the most efficient and effective muscle-building supplement in the world. Research this company. Look at the sales growth. I've shown you several reasons to research this. Promino ticker MUSLF in the US. Now today, I really want to know what you think about all these crazy scenarios surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. What do you think about lawmakers receiving money from him? Feel free to share your thoughts with everyone in the comments section below. Thanks for taking the time to watch today's video, and I hope to see you in the next one.